Hello and welcome. I am Pranay Upadhyay and you are watching Namaste World, your daily window into the biggest stories shaping India and the world. We begin in North America. Mexico has struck a major blow against organized crime with the killing of CJNG kingpin El Mencho. But the fallout could ignite a new wave of cartel violence in the country. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's upcoming Israel visit signals a deeper strategic push in defense, technology and geopolitics between New Delhi and Tel Aviv. Iran stands at the edge of a nuclear shutdown, domestic unrest and possible military confrontation, with the next 2 weeks potentially decisive. Is India really paying nearly 1,000 crore more per Rafale jet than Indonesia? And is the price gap really what it seems? But the biggest news of the day, a US Supreme Court ruling that has thrown billions in Trump-era tariffs into uncertainty, triggering legal confusion and fresh global levies. All that and more. Global flashpoints, power plays, and the stories that matter. Coming up in this edition of Namaste World. In the United States, uncertainty looms over billions in tariff after the US Supreme Court struck down the duties imposed by President Donald Trump under the International Emergency Economic Power Act. The ruling invalidated sweeping global tariffs, potentially affecting over $140 billion collected, but offered no guidance on refund to importers, businesses, or consumers who bore most of the cost. US Trade Representative Jamieson Greer, speaking to media, said that administration needs court direction. He said, and I quote, "We need the courts to tell us what to do. They have created a situation where they stuck down the tariffs and gave zero guidance on this," unquote. He also added that the Court of International Trade is expected to provide instruction on any repayments. In response to US Supreme Court ruling, President Donald Trump has imposed a new 10% global tariff, which he later increased to 15% now under his alternative constitutional authority. Justice Barrett Kavanaugh, one of the three dissenters in the Supreme Court ruling, warned that the refund process could become a mess, noticing the ruling did not explain how the government should return the money. US Customs and Border Protection has procedures to refund duties in certain cases. However, the scale and complexity of the tariffs collection may complicate any repayment efforts. In one of the most significant cartel takedowns in recent years, Mexican forces have killed El Mencho, the feared head of the Jalisco New Generation cartel. While the operation marks a decisive moment in Mexico's war on drugs, the immediate backlash, arson, highway blockade, and armed attacks signals that the battle may be far from over, with fears of violent power struggle now looming. Here's a report by Farhan Khan.
Mexico has delivered one of its biggest blows yet against organized crime. The Mexican military has killed Nemesio Ruben Oseguera Cervantes, better known as El Mencho, the feared head of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, or CJNG. He was wounded during a military raid in Tapalpa, Jalisco, and died while being transported to Mexico City for treatment. Officials say troops came under heavy fire during the operation, killing 4 people at the scene. 3 others were injured, including Oseguera Cervantes, who later died. El Mencho's death marks the most significant cartel takedown since the recapture of Joaquin Guzman nearly a decade ago. But the aftermath was immediate and violent. Cartel gunmen torched vehicles, blocked highways, and launched attacks across multiple states. Cities such as Guadalajara saw residents rush indoors, schools were shut, and even the international airport operated with limited staff. Security personnel were killed in several locations, while troops seized heavy weaponry, including armored vehicles and rocket launchers. The violence has raised fears of a power struggle inside the cartel. Analysts warn that if El Mencho's relatives take control, retaliation could intensify. If rival factions rise instead, they may seek stability and continue operations quietly. Politically, the timing is critical. The killing comes amid mounting pressure from Donald Trump, who has threatened tariffs and even unilateral military action if Mexico fails to curb cartel violence. Trump posted cryptically on Truth Social shortly after news broke, writing, "We are winning too much, it's just not fair." Security experts say Mexico has sent a strong message to Washington that it is taking decisive action. Some believe this could strengthen cooperation between the two countries, particularly on intelligence-led operations. El Mencho himself had a long and bloody trajectory, from serving prison time in the United States to joining the police in Mexico, to becoming a cartel enforcer and eventually founding the CJNG after splitting from the Millennium Cartel. Now, with one of the world's most powerful drug lords gone, Mexico stands at a crossroads. This could mark a turning point in its war on cartels or trigger a new, more violent chapter. With Farhan Khan, Bureau Report, India Today Global.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi is set to visit Israel later this month, marking his second official trip and signaling a major upgrade in the India-Israel strategic partnership. With defense cooperation, emerging technologies like AI and quantum computing, and broader geopolitical alignment on the agenda, the visit is expected to reinforce both nations' ambitions to shape regional and global power equations together. Here is a report by Harsh Mishra.
India and Israel are set to take their strategic partnership to the next level as Prime Minister Narendra Modi prepares for his second official visit to Israel later this month. The two-day visit from February 25 to 26 comes amid growing geopolitical shifts and signals deeper defense, technology, and diplomatic cooperation between the two nations. Prime Minister Modi confirmed the importance of the relationship in a message to his Israeli counterpart Benjamin Netanyahu, saying India deeply values its enduring friendship with Israel built on trust, innovation, and a shared commitment to peace and progress. He also said he was looking forward to discussions that would further strengthen bilateral ties. Netanyahu has gone a step further, describing India as a global power and Modi as a personal friend. He also revealed his broader vision of creating a strategic hexagon of alliances that would include India, select Arab nations, African partners, Mediterranean countries like Greece and Cyprus, and other Asian partners. This proposed grouping is aimed at strengthening diplomatic, economic, and security coordination among like-minded nations. This will be Modi's second visit to Israel as Prime Minister. His first visit in 2017 was historic as he became the first Indian Prime Minister ever to travel to the Jewish state. That landmark trip marked a turning point in India-Israel relations, elevating cooperation across defense, agriculture, innovation, and security sectors. The upcoming visit is expected to deliver concrete outcomes in emerging technologies. Netanyahu has said both countries will expand cooperation in high-tech sectors, including artificial intelligence and quantum computing, highlighting their shared ambition to remain global technology leaders. During the visit, Modi will also participate in an innovation event in Jerusalem and visit the Holocaust Memorial, Yad Vashem. He is also scheduled to meet Israeli President Isaac Herzog. The visit also aligns with broader connectivity and strategic initiatives like the India-Middle East-Europe Economic Corridor, reflecting growing alignment between India and Israel not just economically but also strategically. With defense technology and geopolitics converging, Modi's visit could mark another major milestone in a partnership that continues to expand in both scope and significance. With Harsh Mishra, Bureau Report, India Today Global.
Iran is facing one of the most volatile moments in its modern history. As nuclear negotiations with the United States teeter on collapse, Tehran is grappling with renewed student uprising at home and an unprecedented American military buildup in the region. With red lines hardening on both sides and regional powers bracing for escalation, the coming days could determine whether diplomacy survives or West Asia moves towards open conflict. Here is a report by Debangana Datta.
A nuclear standoff, student uprisings, and the drumbeat of war growing louder by the day. Iran is facing its most dangerous moment in decades, and the world is watching. Let's start with the nuclear deal, or the lack of one. Iran is sitting on a 300 kilogram stockpile of highly enriched uranium, and it has refused to give it up. But in a last-ditch attempt to avoid a military confrontation, Tehran is now offering to lower the purity of that uranium from 60% enrichment, dangerously close to weapons grade, down to 20% or below, under the watchful eye of the International Atomic Energy Agency. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi insists one thing is non-negotiable: the uranium stays inside Iran. No exports, no overseas consortium, no deal with Russia. The nuclear material, he says, will not leave the country. But Washington wants more, much more. The US is pushing for zero enrichment, and with Donald Trump already having dispatched aircraft carriers, warships, and fighter jets to the Middle East, one of America's biggest military buildups in the region since the Iraq War, the pressure on Tehran is immense. Trump has set a deadline, 10 to 15 days, for Iran to come to the table or face, in his words, really bad things. And if the nuclear standoff wasn't enough, Iran is now burning from within. 40 days after a brutal government crackdown left an estimated 30,000 people dead in some of the worst domestic unrest Iran has seen in decades, students are back on the streets. Protesters gathered at Tehran University and campuses in Mashhad, which had reopened for the new academic term. Chants of death to Khamenei and death to the dictator echoed across campuses. Videos geolocated to university grounds showed tight security, Basij militia members, and confrontations with pro-regime groups. Meanwhile, behind closed doors, the diplomatic clock is ticking. 2 rounds of indirect US-Iran talks, mediated by Oman, have shown what diplomats are calling cautious progress. But the gaps remain enormous. When Omani mediators handed Iran a US envelope containing missile-related proposals, Foreign Minister Arakchi reportedly refused to even open it and handed it straight back. Iran is expected to submit a written counter-proposal within days. But former US diplomat and Iran specialist Alan Ayer put it bluntly, both sides are sticking to their guns. Unless the US and Iran walk back from their red lines, which I don't think they will, nothing meaningful can emerge. Israel believes the gaps are unbridgeable. Gulf nations are quietly preparing for military confrontation, and Trump, by his own admission, is considering a limited strike to force Iran's hand. The next 10 to 15 days could determine whether the Middle East slides into its most dangerous conflict in a generation. The nuclear talks are fragile, the streets of Iran are restless, and the warships are already in position. The world is holding its breath. With the Bangnan Datta, Bureau Report, India Today Global.
French Rafale fighter jets deal with Indonesia and India are drawing sharp comparisons and sharper questions. On paper, India appears to be paying significantly more per aircraft, but a closer look reveals that is not a simple apple-to-apple comparison. From technology transfer and domestic manufacturing to advanced weapon packages and lifetime maintenance, India's deal goes far beyond just buying the jets. It's about building long-term strategic capability. Here is a report by Rudrashish Kanjilal.
Same fighter jet, same manufacturer, same country of origin. So why is one nation paying nearly 1,000 crore rupees more per aircraft? France's Rafale deal with Indonesia has triggered sharp questions back home. Is India overpaying, or is the comparison deeply misleading? Let's start with the headline figures. Indonesia signed a deal in 2022 for 42 Rafale fighter jets worth $8.1 billion, roughly 68,000 crore rupees. That puts the cost at around 1,747 crore rupees per aircraft. Now compare that to India. India is planning to acquire 114 Rafales at an estimated cost of 3.25 lakh crore rupees. That's roughly 2,850 crore rupees per jet. A difference of over 1,000 crore rupees per aircraft. So, why is India paying nearly 1.5 times more? First, this is not a like-for-like comparison. Indonesia is buying aircraft largely in flyaway condition. India is not. Out of 114 jets, only 18 will arrive fully built from France. The remaining 96 will be manufactured in India under the Make in India program. That means India isn't just buying jets, it's buying production lines, it's buying technology transfer, it's buying domestic industrial capability, and that costs money up front. Second, the weapons package. India's Rafales come loaded. They include the long-range Meteor air-to-air missiles. They include the Scalp deep strike cruise missiles. They include Hammer precision-guided bombs. These are not basic add-ons. They are advanced, battle-proven systems that dramatically increase combat range and strike power. Indonesia's deal structure does not mirror this full-spectrum package. Third, life cycle costs. India's contract includes full mission simulators, long-term maintenance, spares, training, performance guarantees. In simple terms, India is paying for the jet's entire operational life, not just the aircraft frame. Think of it this way. Indonesia bought the car. India bought the car, the service package, spare parts for 30 years, and the factory to build more. There's also strategic urgency. The Indian Air Force currently operates 29 fighter squadrons. Its assessed requirement, 42. Each squadron needs between 16 to 18 jets. India isn't buying Rafales for prestige. It's buying them to close a serious capability gap. And this is not India's first Rafale deal. It already operates 36 aircraft from an earlier purchase. The Indian Navy has also selected the Rafale M for carrier operations. This new order expands an existing ecosystem: infrastructure, training pipelines, weapons compatibility. That integration adds cost, but it also adds efficiency. So, is France selling Rafales cheaper to Indonesia? On paper, yes, but the real math tells a different story. Indonesia bought jets. India bought jets, weapons, maintenance, manufacturing rights, and long-term strategic capability. The price per aircraft looks higher, but the package is far bigger. And in defense deals, the sticker price is never the whole story. The real question is not why is India paying more. The real question is, what exactly is India buying? And the numbers make that answer crystal clear. With Rudrashish Kanjilal, Bureau Report, India Today Global.
As we wrap up today's show, here's a quick look at the top stories making waves around the world. The European Commission has urged the United States to honor last year's EU-US trade deal and clarify its next step after the Supreme Court struck down Donald Trump's global tariffs. Greenland's Prime Minister Jens Frederik Nielsen rejected President Donald Trump's proposal to send a US hospital ship to the territory amid his renewed takeover remarks. North Korea's ruling Workers' Party has re-elected Kim Jong-un as General Secretary, reinforcing his firm control over the country and highlighting his leadership achievements. The Indian state of Uttar Pradesh has secured 6,650 crores in investment commitments during Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath's Singapore visit, with projects expected to generate over 20,000 jobs. At least 19 people, including a British national, were killed and 25 injured after a passenger bus plunged 200 meters off the hilly highway in western Nepal. And that brings us to the end of today's edition of Namaste World. From breakthrough in technology and business to political developments and natural disasters. Stay tuned as we bring you the latest updates, key developments and more from New Delhi to New York. See you again tomorrow, same time, right here on Namaste World.